All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Ann Nutter-Kaufman. I'm a manager in our teacher quality department at the National Education Association, and we are so glad that you could join us tonight for this in-depth, or more in-depth than I know, of the Seesaw platform. A couple of sort of business keeping things. We are recording the session so that you can watch it again if you'd like. We'll have all of those web addresses and URLs and all of those kinds of things as we go through that you can go and visit. You can obtain professional development credits. We will tell you how. And then the other thing I just want to make sure that I mention, the NEA is not necessarily endorsing Seesaw as a platform. This is a tool that our educators are using across the country, and we've brought together some other educators that have been using it, trying to give advice to one another. So know that this isn't us endorsing, this is us just trying to provide some support. We also want to put up front as a caveat, you need to use whatever platform your district and your local affiliate is saying that you need to be using for distance learning. So just want to put those business things out there before we even get started. But on that note, I'd like to introduce our executive board member joining us tonight, Robert Rodriguez. Robert?
Good evening, everyone. We want to begin by acknowledging that we meet on the traditional lands served by our first people. The land where I live and teach, in San Bernardino, California, is home to the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians. We honor America's first people and all elders, past, present, and emerging. Good evening. I'm Robert Rodriguez, a middle school special education teacher from Southern California and a loud and proud union member with the National Education Association. And on behalf of the NEA officers and executive committee, it's my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's session, and also to say thank you for all of your hard work in teaching our students during this pandemic. Tonight's webinar, Scaling Up with Seesaw, is a direct result of members attendees from the August webinar series asking for a deeper training on this platform. This webinar is one way we're trying to support members in their professional work right now. The COVID-19 pandemic has created new challenges and obstacles. And as educators, we have to remind ourselves that teaching in a distance learning environment will look different for everyone. No one has all of the right answers, but we do have some of the best practices around distance learning that we can share on this webinar and on our website, educatingthroughcrisis.org. As a quick reminder, I want to let everyone know that NEA is not endorsing any particular product or platforms. Instead, all of the webinars that we present are led by members who are sharing tools and platforms that they have been working with and are successfully working with through distance learning. At the end of this session, I'm going to ask you to complete a short evaluation that's going to help us identify topics you might be interested in. Please take time to do this survey and take seriously. That way we can ensure that you're getting the support and work that you need. And now I'd like to turn it over to our wonderful facilitators, Sarah and Kelly.
Okay. Very quickly, let's start off with webinar procedures for this evening. So due to the large number of participants attending this webinar, your camera and microphone will be muted. Please post questions in the Q&A box. Please use the chat feature for other comments or ideas. Let's collaborate. And please try to ask questions concisely. We will happily answer as many of your questions as we can after the webinar. And our facilitators will also try to respond to your questions throughout the presentation. With a group this size, let's leverage our shared capacity and connect on social media. So check out NEA Ed Practice with the hashtag NEA Ed Practice and at NEA Today. Okay. Make sure you check out the NEA Ed communities as well. So hi, I am Kelly Newton. I am a STEAM educator from Ann Arbor, Michigan. I teach grades young fives all the way up to 5th grade in 2 elementary buildings. And I teach science, technology, engineering, art, and math as one curriculum. And then I'd like to introduce my partner, Sarah.
I'm Sarah, and Kelly could practically give my introduction as well because we have almost exactly the same role, except this year I traded off Young Fives, which I enjoy, but I traded off Young Fives and picked up 8th grade. So this year I'm teaching kindergarten through 5th and one 8th grade class, which I've been trying to get back to for quite a while. So it's a pretty exciting year and we're learning a lot. Kelly and I both are avid Seesaw users. We're Seesaw ambassadors, which means that we attend a little additional training, and we're Seesaw certified educators, which basically means that we've been ambassadors for quite a while. 3 years makes a Seesaw certified educator. And one very small caveat, as Seesaw ambassadors, we have an opportunity from Seesaw to receive an upgraded version of Seesaw from the free version to Seesaw Plus, and we are required to let you know that. And just very quickly, our district uses Seesaw for schools, so we actually don't take advantage of that offer, but we just let you know that. But the real reason that we talk about Seesaw is because we really love it. We use it all the time in both of our classrooms, and it's a tool that we really like and we think has helped in our practice, both of us. And we've been using Seesaw for, I don't know, me 5 years, Kelly longer than that. Yeah, so we used it long before we went home for remote learning in the spring, and we continue to use it now.
I used it today.
Yeah.
Several times. So our learning objectives for today, this is our goal for this evening. We want to quickly define and describe culturally responsive teaching, social emotional learning, and the universal design for learning and how Seesaw can use all of these features. We want you to be able to answer the question, what is Seesaw? Explain the difference between the two Seesaw apps and who uses which app. We want you to see Seesaw as a student would, and I'll model that part. And then we want you to see an overview of Seesaw activities, including finding, remixing, and creating activities. You'll also see Seesaw from the teacher side, which Sarah will model. And then you'll see an overview of the brand new Seesaw features that were released in August this summer. So we are going to begin with a few things that best practice suggests we consider. So first of all, we want to make sure that we're supporting our diverse learners. Okay, so Seesaw helps us support and include diverse learners. And we plan to include references, but we want to make sure we credit the people that wrote these things that we are talking about. So first of all, one of my favorite books happens to be Culturally Responsive Teaching in the Brain by Zaretta Hammond. And we teach in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is a very diverse group of kids. We have kids from quite literally all over the world that come to visit the University of Michigan, which is right in the city that we teach in. And we want to make sure we're responsive to all different cultures and all different types of kids. A second book that we love in Ann Arbor and in my personal teaching is Social Emotional Learning. And I think all of us need to be especially mindful of that now with COVID and the isolation that some kids are feeling. And that is coming from Castle, and we will reference that here and there in the presentation. And the third one, this one is Seesaw does the best with, is Universal Design for Learning from CAST. And we will mention quickly a little bit about that as well. And that helps you reach any kid who might have any special need. So culturally responsive teaching, very quickly. Again, written by Zaretta Hammond, and it's super, super helpful if you have a diverse group of kids. You need to be responsive and considerate of everyone in your classroom, okay? I highly recommend that you check out this article from Cult of Pedagogy. If you click on the link, you can actually take a second and read that when you have time later, probably not now. I wanted to direct you to the Zaretta Hammond's website for CRT in the Brain, and you can actually request and download her book for free by using your educator's email, which is handy, handy, handy. If you didn't know that, it's super worth it. And then she also has a fabulous blog, and that's all linked in the presentation right there. We also wanted to mention about social emotional learning. And again, this comes from Castle. If you click on the link here, you can go to the Castle website, and you can also download the core competencies PDF here in English and here in Spanish. And again, social emotional learning is extremely important right now with kids being home instead of at school. And I'll hand this one to Sarah.
So the next one, Universal Design for Learning, is a framework that recognizes that all students are unique and have unique learning needs. Whether these students appear to be homogeneous or not, they're not. Every student is a unique learner. And Universal Design for Learning, the framework is based on 3 principles: that we need to provide multiple means of engagement, that we need to provide multiple means of representation, and provide multiple means of action and expression. And we will talk about this throughout because, as Kelly mentioned, Seesaw is fantastic for supporting learners in these ways. What we want to start by doing is providing options for access for our students. And if you click on the link at the bottom where it says graphic organizer, that will give you a quick visual summary of Universal Design for Learning. If you check out their website, there is an entire book about what all of this means. There are excellent videos that can help you get started. So we're starting with providing access for our students. Then we build on it. We teach our students to internalize their learning, and then the goal is to provide expert learners. And in the green area, it would be learners who are purposeful and motivated. The purple area is students who are resourceful and knowledgeable. And in the blue area, with action and expression, our students will be strategic and goal directed. So it's a big goal to get from providing that access to getting them to become these expert learners. But Seesaw is a tool that can support you in all of those 3 principles.
So what is Seesaw? So Seesaw is a platform for student engagement. Teachers can empower students to create, reflect, share, and collaborate. Students show what they know using photos, videos, drawings, texts, PDFs, and links. And it's simple to get student work done in one place and share with families, and nothing is shared without the teacher's approval. So Seesaw is available on iPads and iOS devices, Chromebooks, Android, Kindle, and pretty much any computer that can run the app.seesaw.me website. Okay.
Now, Seesaw has 2 apps, which you can have on the different devices that Kelly just mentioned, or there's one website. If your students are using apps, or if you have family members who are connected on an app, it's really important to know that there are 2 apps. And just quickly, in a nutshell, the app that teachers use with students is called the class app. The app that teachers use with families is the family app, and it's an important distinction because each one does different things. If you're using the class app, that's where you're going to assign activities for your students to participate in and submit back to you, and students will only see those activities on the class app. Once you have approved your students' work, then families can see only their own child's work. And in the next couple of slides, there are details about what each person can do in Seesaw. So Kelly, will you go ahead to the next one? These are things that the teacher can do in Seesaw. You can send announcements, share activities, post in the student portfolio, and give feedback to your students. And we'll show you a little bit of that because it's great how you can use the different features of Seesaw to really support all your students. And then the student in Seesaw can respond. Go ahead, Kel. Thank you. The student in Seesaw can respond to those activities. They can also add some of their own posts, which we'll take a quick look at. They can revise their work, and teachers have control over settings, but they may be able to comment on other students' work. And that all is those 2 activities, the teacher activities and the student activities, are all done using the class app. And then the second app is the family app. So family members can communicate with teachers. They can read announcements and respond to them. They can see their own child's journal, so anything that's posted to their child's portfolio. And the nice thing here is regardless of how you have your class settings configured, family members will only see their own child's work. Family members can also directly message with the teacher, and again, depending on class settings, the family members may be able to like and comment on their own child's journal posts. So it's sort of like educational social media where you can have a conversation going among the students, which is a goal as an educator, to have students having that conversation self-directed. They love to do it this way. And you can have the liking and commenting of the family members too. So it's a lot of fun for students.
And we're going to just quickly take a peek inside a Seesaw class, and then I'll actually take you inside a Seesaw class, and I'm going to pretend like I am a student in Sarah's class. So this is an image from a Seesaw class. So right here is where your student portfolios would be. Okay, this is the feed of student work. This is where the teacher address is, or where your login is, where you change the settings of your class, and then where you can see whether this was published to the blog, what folder it's in, and then whether there were any comments from family members or even students. And then we're going to show you a couple examples from our own classrooms. And I have Sarah start.
Okay, so this first one, I had to go through archives to find this because I thought it was lost to me at one point. This is a delightful example. This is a kindergartner. And as you listen to what this kindergartner has to say about his project that he made during our class, think about what he's able to express as opposed to if he had been asked to write this down on paper. And yes, granted, I know we need to learn reading and writing. I am all for that. But once in a while, giving this opportunity for students to express themselves using, and this is the Universal Design for Learning, multiple means of action and expression, allowing a student to express themselves in a different way can really give you insight into their understanding.
I'm going to play it here.
My beanstalk was so good. I made it so well. It was so good, I could even hold a golden egg. I made it a second time. It was so hard though.
So that just, it delights me. I have a special place in my heart for this particular student, but and then Kelly has another example here. I'm just quickly explain that we're not going to play every example, but you have access to this in the slide deck, and you are welcome to go back and listen to all of these again in the future. And Kelly's going to play an example here from her classroom.
I'm going to explain what you're looking at too. So I teach robotics, which is sometimes a real challenge, especially for kids. And these are my fifth graders at one of my elementary schools. And this is a team of kids that were really struggling. And what they have to do is they have to program their robot to deliver that little green block into that little green box. And they've been working on it for almost a good solid week. And this is the moment when they actually got it. So I'm going to play this quick video for you.
Yes.
Sorry about the screaming, but they got it, and that was such a joyous moment for me and for them. And we got some comments within 3 seconds from Mom about it, which is just entertaining to me. So very quickly, there's lots more examples in this presentation, but we're not going to spend a lot of time on that because we figured you actually want to see Seesaw. But if you're interested in a word sort or reading or writer's workshop or sight words or counting or fractions, each of these are a hyperlink, and you can click on them and open them up, and they are directly from Seesaw, and we're using the Seesaw icon with permission. So very quickly, in a moment, I'm going to take you into our Seesaw class, and I want to talk about some of the tools that you might see as a student. So first, of course, we have camera, video, microphone, text, and drawing, okay? And again, whenever you make a journal post, you start with the green add button, and you click on journal, and then you're going to actually add in either a drawing, a photo, a video, or writing, or a text. Okay. So you might consider using any of these tools as a kid, but now you can also link things, which is wonderful. And they're built in, they come right in. Within the drawing tools, there are a lot of choices. So I like to explain this ahead of time so you see what is happening. So there's undo, there's redo, there's labeling with text. You can draw and record at the same time. If you click that, you can add a photo, a video, or you can upload anything from your Google Drive or your computer, etc. You can add shapes, you can add beautiful backgrounds, and you can link to outside websites. You can caption with your voice as well. You can draw. This is the pencil, this is the pen, this is the highlighter, this is the glow pen, everyone's favorite right there, and the eraser, and you have all these color choices. So we're going to make a journal post. So I'm going to walk you through this in Seesaw here. So I'm going to tap the add button, and I'm going to very quickly show you what it looks like here. So can you all see my class? Sarah, tell me yes.
I can see your class.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to make a journal post. And I am.
Oh, and Kelly, will you point out that it says student right there underneath the class
Yes.
name?
Yes. Do we all see that I am not logged in as a teacher right now? I am logged in as one of Sarah's students. And here I am, Kelly, and I want to add to my journal. So I can click on add. I could choose a photo. I could choose a video. I could upload from my Google Drive. I could write a note. I could add a link, but I'm going to draw a very quick picture.
And this is where a lot of students go first also.
Yes. So I might choose a beautiful background like this. And I might add a text box saying, hello, everyone. And I can even add a recording. Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. I'm going to click done. And then, hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. I'm going to do that as well. And all of that can get dropped into the class with one click.
One thing I want to point out there while Kelly's doing that is she could have clicked that recording at the beginning of the process, and then she could have drawn and did her writing and all that stuff. And what's great about that is if she is doing that as she's working, one, it captures the video as part of the recording, and two, if she's talking about her thinking, then I, as the teacher, can hear that later, which is fantastic. And there's a lot of times you collect something as a final product from your students, and the only way that you can have an understanding of what they were thinking is if they maybe made some notes ahead of time or reflected afterwards or talked to you about it. But this way, you can hear your students thinking as they're doing the work, which is one of my favorite parts about Seesaw. And actually, I don't know. I have 1,000 favorites.
I have an awful lot of favorites. If there's a mistake or if a kid posts too soon, they can actually go back and edit their post. They can even copy and edit it. And I also want you to notice that everything that gets posted is waiting for the teacher's approval. Nothing goes up without the teacher's permission. Okay. And then I was also going to show you a quick activity, which is slightly different from the student perspective. Okay. And so activities are underneath the light bulb in Seesaw. And we have one activity posted that we're going to have you have a look at. And this is an activity from Chris Zasner. And he is very, very talented. And he has a scratch and solve activity. So you click on add response, you click on the eraser when you're going to use the eraser to reveal the math problem. And then you click on the microphone and solve the problem. And you continue until you have answered all the problems. And then you press pause. Then you can click on the check when you're done. So for example, here is that scratch and solve. I'm going to follow his directions and click on the eraser, and I'm going to record. So I am going to erase this box first. Come on now. And I have the problem 15 minus 14 equals 1. Then I might do another one.
Good job, Kelly.
Yeah, I hope I can do that one. Then I have 14 take away 6, or 14 take away 8 is, can you guess?
Oh, that's a fact family.
Oh, how about There we go. And of course, I would continue on and go all the way through the activity if I was a student in your class. There is always this lovely little button right here called View Instructions. So in case your student forgets partially through the activity what they're supposed to do, and I have seen this happen many, many times, they can pull that down and look at it again. And if there's a recording of the directions, if you recorded your voice reading it, they can play it even inside Seesaw. If a child makes a mistake, they can undo it, they can redo it, and then they can always change colors and have fun with these things. So once you're finished, you click on Done and click on the check mark. And it's uploading my post. This might take a moment because I recorded. Hopefully it'll go a little faster. Nope. Zoom and Seesaw sometimes don't like each other.
Yeah, things tend to really slow down.
There we go. And now we have some success. And once I'm finished, I can post it and I can wait for Sarah to approve it. Okay. And then I'm going to stop share and I'm going to hand it back to you, my dear. Okay.
All righty. So I am going to show you what this looks like from the teacher side. And I want to make sure I've got the right thing that I'm sharing here. There we go. Okay, so from the teacher side, I see something that looks pretty similar to what Kelly saw, except you'll notice up here on the right-hand side, it says that I'm looking at it as a teacher. And also, where Kelly could only see her own name because of the way that this class is configured, I can see all the students in the class. And I'm currently in the journal, and it tells me that there are 4 unapproved posts. So from the teacher side, I can click review and I can look at those one at a time. And I see that I have 2 responses from Kelly. One, I want to point this out. I'm going to start at the bottom here. We have this one from Alexander, and then we have one from Kelly. And you'll notice that underneath those 2, if you look right under their name, it is blank. This is the response that Kelly posted to the journal. So that means that without necessarily having a prompt to respond to, Kelly can add to her own portfolio. And we encourage that because we want students to be to feel responsible and feel ownership for their portfolio. It helps them to grow as learners and to take ownership of their own learning. So this doesn't have an activity name, but if you look right here, directly under her name, this is probably where I should have started, it says in response to scratch and solve. So I can see here that Kelly has done this activity in response to this activity prompt. And I can look at this a couple of different ways. One way I can do it is I can click approve all, but I'm going to tell you I never recommend that. And actually I want to show you a little nifty trick if I can get this to let me in there. Actually, I'm going to put Kelly's item in a folder so that you can see a couple of things that you can do here. One handy dandy thing is I can review this in the activity. So if I click on this activity name, theoretically you would have 24 other students who had responded right now. Oh, by the way, this is a pretend class. None of these are real people. Some of them are named after real people, but this is not a real class. So Kelly responded to this activity and it tells me that it's ready to be reviewed. None of these other people have, so they're gray. And if she had responded and I had approved it already, it would look like this, but the review mark would be gone. So for example, if I approve this one item, when I go and look at the activity, which I'm going to click over and do here in a minute, when I look at that activity, right here, it no longer says review because it's been reviewed. So it's very clear whether a student hasn't responded, whether they've responded and it's been approved, whether it's waiting for review, or if you have a premium Seesaw account, I think it's Seesaw for Schools, maybe Seesaw Plus also, I'm trying to remember, they're able to use the draft feature. I think that might just be Seesaw for Schools, but I'm not 100% sure. So it would say draft if a student had submitted it as a draft. So these are the 4 areas that you're typically going to see. It could be 3 depending on what kind of account you're using. You will definitely see journal, you will definitely see activities, and you will definitely see inbox. And this is where you can communicate with families. But if I go back to the journal, I could review and approve those responses at the same time. I'm going to wait to do that because we're going to do a quick overview of activities and what activities are. And then once you have that understanding, I will show you my method for approving and reviewing that I think is a way to help with workflow. And Kelly, I'm trying to remember, I think we go back to you at this point. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or am
but
I
you
doing the overview of activities?
think
Maybe
you
it's,
are doing it. You
I'm
are doing
doing that. Okay. Activities. When activities got added to the Seesaw toolkit about, I think it was 2 years ago, that was a life changer because as you can see with that grid view, that was a big step that Seesaw took toward starting to become more of a fully robust learning management system. And I don't know that I would still call it a learning management system like in the line of Schoology or Google Classroom. However, some of the features that they have built in have made it much more robust and easier to use. So if you decide as a teacher that you want your students to respond to an activity, it's really easy to get started with that. And we'll have some resources at the end where you can go to Seesaw for help to really learn this a little bit more. But if I click on activities, actually I think I can do it still from here. When I click the green plus add button, as a teacher, I have 3 options here. When Kelly clicked the green plus add button, it took her directly to the creative tools because she was logged in as a student. But as a teacher, I could post student work and that would go directly to the journal, very similarly to how Kelly did it. I could assign an activity and I could send an announcement. Announcements are pretty straightforward and pretty easy to use. And once you get connected families in Seesaw, you'll find that you don't really have any trouble with that. So we're going to focus on activities because I think this is where the most fun part is. So when I click on add activity, it will take me to my Seesaw activity library. And I have 3 different libraries. Again, our district pays for Seesaw for Schools. So we have a school and district library. You may not have that. However, you can still share activities with your co-teachers and your teacher learning network, your professional learning network, and we can show you how to do that. So it's very easy to do. But I want to show you a quick overview of the community library. And we do have slides to support all of this, but this is great because these are all activities that are available to you for free in Seesaw, no matter what version of Seesaw you're using. And Kelly and I worked with the free version for a couple of years before we moved up. And we're very successful with it. So you absolutely can use the free version, and all of these activities are available to you for free, whether you're using a free version or a paid version. And what happens when you get in here is it could almost be almost overwhelming because there are so many activities. However, you can filter by grade level. So I could look for a 3rd grade lesson, and then you can filter by subject. For example, if I wanted to do a digital citizenship lesson with my 3rd graders, I could find a 3rd grade digital citizenship lesson. So the question then might be, where do these lessons come from? And I will tell you, if you see an icon like this, it is an activity that was created by the people at Seesaw. A full lesson will have some kind of a student example or maybe a video. It looks like this has a link to a video. really well written instructions that include step-by-step directions, and these little icons are built right into Seesaw. A set of directions that you can play back, your students can play back again. That's that multiple means of representation, so you're getting your universal design for learning in there. And if you're really lucky, it might even include teacher notes. And that's why I wanted to point out the Seesaw activity, because they do include teacher notes. And other activities come from educators all over the world, and they have to go through a special professional development training in order to be able to contribute to the Seesaw library. So you can feel pretty assured that any activity that you find in Seesaw is going to be a pretty good quality activity. Once I find an activity, if I want to use it, I can click on the heart and that will add it to my library. And then it automatically pops up a message asking if I want to assign this to my class. So very quickly, I will kind of show you what that looks like. If I click assign to class, then I can choose to assign it to any of my classes, including my PD class that we're working with right now. If you're using the Seesaw Plus and the Seesaw for Schools version, you can schedule an activity to arrive at a specific date and time. Even if you can't, that's okay. You can schedule them on the spot, and it's really helpful. So if I wanted to assign this in an hour, I don't know why I would do that. I could do this, and then I could click the check mark. And a couple of other things that are helpful to know. If I have an activity and I especially want only certain students in my class to do that activity, I can assign the activity to just those students and it will just go to them, or I can assign it to everyone. And one thing I recommend always using, especially if you have multiple subjects that you teach, then you might put it into a folder. So this one would be digital citizenship. I might put it into PLTW. That's the subject that Kelly and I teach. That's our curriculum that we use, or you can create a new folder. And the last thing would be skills, and we're in the interest of time, we won't touch on skills today, but that's how you can assign an activity. And for the sake of being able to see it, I'm going to make it immediate. We'll assign it to that one class. And then once I've assigned it, especially, I want to point out that this is now in my library because I favorited it by clicking on the heart. Now it's in my library as well. And if I thought this was a really great activity and I wanted to share it with Kelly, I could click on the activity in the library, click on the three dots, and I have a lot of options here. I could add this to a collection, which basically means to put it in a folder for myself for future reference. I could copy and edit it. I can print it. I can take it out of my library, or I can share the activity. And if you don't have the option to share to a school and district library, you can still get a teacher link. So I could copy this and I could email it to Kelly, or in the spring when we were working on curriculum together across our district, we had a spreadsheet. And when we were creating Seesaw activities and sharing them with the other teachers in our district, we put them in the spreadsheet. Actually, we do that now as well. We're modifying and adapting our current curriculum for our distance learning. So we have a spreadsheet, and when we create an activity for all of our students, we're creating it for all the elementary schools in 21 buildings, and we share that activity. And we could do that regardless of having it in the school and district library. We actually usually just share the link. So if you're on the free version, you absolutely can do that. The three dots, share activity, and get teacher link. I'm going to touch base on our over here. In the presentation, slides 37 and 38 are a couple of activities that we have linked that other teachers created. So this is the scratch and solve activity that Kelly demonstrated. When you are ready, if you're checking this out later on, you can open this up, and this, if you click on the image, is a link to the activity that you can use as a teacher, which is why it says save activity. And we got that link doing exactly what we just demonstrated. This is the second one that was in line that we didn't get into, but it's a really fun activity as well. And then Kelly is going to talk about this activity.
And this one I like to mention mainly because this is a wonderful activity to do with kids if you are trying to do a little social emotional learning. And it's an activity called I Wish My Teacher Knew. And sometimes you might find kids will tell you things on Seesaw that they might not tell you in front of the whole class. And that might give you a little insight into their life at home. And this one is, I found on the community library. It was created by Michelle Olix, and I happen to love it, and I think it's excellent. So I linked that one in there for you. The next one is actually one that was created by Seesaw, and I happen to love growth mindset personally and the power of yet. And this is a nicely written activity that walks kids through the power of yet and how to use this. And this is also a super good one for kids setting some goals and thinking about how to better themselves, which is super handy right now in the pandemic when most of the kids are trapped at home. They might need a little incentive to keep working.
Okay, so as you are working in Seesaw, you might be wondering how to get started, and it's really easy actually. So if you haven't used Seesaw before, go to app.seesaw.me and make an account, or you can sign in with Google. I don't do sign in with Google in my personal stuff, but I use it in school all the time. So you absolutely can do sign in with Google at school. You also can ask a classroom teacher to invite you as a co-teacher in their class if you are in the role of a support educator, like if you're an occupational therapist, a Title I teacher, if you are a special area teacher. So one thing is that if you're working on a free version of Seesaw, you can have 2 co-teachers in a class. So that is a little limiting. But you could share Seesaw with, in the past I've seen it shared with the teacher next door if you have another grade level team player, team player, or you could share it with your student teacher or a paraprofessional or a teacher assistant in your class. So get creative, but you also can, like I mentioned earlier, you can have a really easy experience sharing activities with other educators. And the biggest part is getting students connected. So if you get students connected, they can see all the different classes, and we can show you how it looks when students switch classes. If you are using Seesaw Free or Seesaw Plus, here is a quick and easy video from Seesaw's YouTube channel that you can check out later on that shows you exactly how to get started. It takes you through everything step by step. And if you are using Seesaw for Schools, here's another video that's specific to folks who are using Seesaw for Schools. And then connecting students is really easy. It really is easy. There are a lot of ways to get students signed into Seesaw, and I would highly recommend this help article because there's quite a few different ways, and it really depends on what your situation is, whether you're remote learning or in the classroom, or maybe you're doing a hybrid approach, or what kinds of devices you have. So check out this help article. But with shared devices and one-on-one sign-in, one-to-one sign-in, there are a lot of great options for students. They can type in a text code, which is only good for 1 hour at a time. And this is how Kelly and I used to do professional development. We would put a text code on the board and up on the whiteboard, and after an hour that text code expires. And that is for security reasons, so that a text code can't get shared across the internet and have people joining your class that aren't supposed to be. or students in the classroom or maybe from your computer, they can scan a QR code. And that's a QR code that gets them directly into your class. Another option is that they can use their email or their Gmail account to sign in. And this is what I recommend if you're using Gmail accounts, because if a classroom teacher has students connected through a Gmail account and the art teacher has students connected through a Gmail account, then when the student signs in with that Gmail account, they can access both of those Seesaw classes. And it's really, really useful. They don't have to have multiple sign-ins. And family members only have to sign up once, and they get kind of a stream of information from all the different classes. So it's an easy way to communicate where people aren't having to sign in and sign out to different classes. Another option is a home learning code. And this is like an individualized QR code or an individualized text code that's used for each student. And this was an example of Seesaw really stepping up in March when everybody went home. They created these custom multi-digit login codes for students that are individual to those students. And they did it in a matter of weeks, made this happen, and that is still an option. They promised that the individualized QR codes or text codes will stick around. Another option, if you're using Seesaw for Schools, is students can sign in with Clever, and we use that and it's very successful. So that's just another option. There are a lot of ways to help get your students connected. So when students sign in, they're going to click I'm a student. And then if they're signing in with email or Google, they, I think this is in the wrong spot. Sorry about that. If they're signing in with email or Google, they're going to type up here. If they are using the text code sign in, they just enter that here. And this would be like the home learning code would go right here. If we want them to use an email account, they can create a new student account or use an existing email address. And then after they've logged in for the first time, then they can just click sign in with Google, or they can sign in normally. It's actually really easy. And I use this option down to about 3rd grade, and they do it just fine. Below that, I recommend QR codes for sure, and Seesaw makes it really easy to generate QR codes for each of your students. Again, Seesaw for Schools Clever sign in, and students will just hold up a badge and it'll take them directly to their own account. There's a little more about signing in, so I'm going to kind of keep going because you can check this out later. And Kelly is going to talk about connecting families, because that is one of the bonuses of Seesaw. I've always been a special area teacher, and therefore it takes a little longer to develop the parent to teacher or a family member to teacher communication, but the best communication that I have and the families that know me the most are the families that are connected on Seesaw.
Yeah. And on the other hand, I was a classroom teacher for 15 years before I became a STEAM educator. So I love this app for its communication, mainly because it just makes it so easy. So you can invite students with a print invite. So you can actually go right into invite families and print that up, and it will print individual invites, one for each kid with their name on it and everything. You can also share an email link. And Sarah, can you go to the next slide for me? And that's what they look like. So they have a quick start guide that comes when you print them, and each kiddo, and Alex is of course my son, they have a little page explaining what to do for the families, and then that QR code that gets them directly into your Seesaw class, and it will print that for every child. So like when we're actually at school, we can hand those to people, or you can put them in the mail and mail them that way. However, you can also email everybody, or you can use their mobile number and text them a link. And I've actually done that myself. You can add multiple family members, so one for mom, one for dad, one for grandma, one for your Aunt Sue, or whomever you want to add. And you can add multiple people even, okay? And for example, what does the text look like? Looks like this, and it has a hyperlink, and it even has all these lovely little features, and it makes it super easy. Now, I am a mom as well as a teacher, and I have both apps on my phone, and I'm connected to my son's class and my daughter's class, and my own class. They're super handy, and it helps you just keep connected. So you can connect up to 10 family members per kiddo, even with the free account. And it's pretty easy to know if they've connected or not. It tells you very plainly right next to each child's name, whether they're connected or not connected. And last spring, that was one of our little missions, is we got everybody connected, and it did take some time, but hopefully it will be a little smoother now, because at least in my district, we're all virtual all the time. So everybody has connected a little faster now, because it's the only way to contact us, really.
And the beautiful thing too is all of the second graders that got connected, the families of the second graders that got connected last year, those students are in third grade now. Those family members are still connected.
As long as they stay in the same district.
Yes, as long as they're still in the same district. So you don't have to track them down every year. We hear people use open houses and times like that would be a little easier in person, but that is a great time to catch families and get them to sign up if they just have maybe missed the messages. We get a lot of communication as parents, and we respect that it can be overwhelming. So catch your family members, see if you can get them connected. It's a lot of fun.
So how do you add families in Seesaw? You click Add Family. You're down at the bottom of the screen. You can click on the family link. You can download PDFs to print by clicking Print Invites. You can enter phone numbers or email addresses to send invites digitally. And of course, for us, we usually do it digitally.
And one thing I didn't mention, I don't think we've talked about this, you can print that invitation in about 10 languages. I think it's about 10. However, when families communicate with you through Seesaw, Seesaw translates into the home language setting on the family's computer. So if they're set to, I don't know, German, Arabic, whatever, 55 different languages, and it's probably not a perfect translation, but the beautiful thing is, as the teacher, there is absolutely nothing that you have to do to make that happen. If a family member has their home computer set to a different language than the one that you're communicating in, Seesaw will automatically translate it for you. That's for all text. So if students handwrite something in one of their responses, it won't translate that, but it will translate the text, and it's just done seamlessly with no effort on your part. So it's a great way to get away from using giant PDF newsletters and just start sending daily or every couple of days little blips to the families. They're seeing pictures of what's happening in the classroom, so you don't have to go and find a picture that represents each child. The families already have that, and they know what's going on in the classroom because you are sending communications to them.
And I've had so many families actually shoot me messages back in Spanish or Portuguese or Korean. Well, we have a lot of different languages in Ann Arbor, and all I click is translate on the little button, and it translates back to English, and then I can read it, which is wonderful because I don't speak 200 different languages. I'm not that brilliant. But anyway,
she's brilliant, though.
There's a tutorial in there if you need it. That's a handy dandy video, again, from the Seesaw YouTube channel. And updates, Sarah. These are the best, you guys. This is the new stuff.
These updates are amazing. So we want to take just a minute to show you what you can do with some of our updates. First of all, on the student side, so if Kelly was signed in and showing her screen, she could show you one of her activities. She could click the 3 dots at the bottom, and she would have the option to print that activity. So to some degree, this will help you to support your students who maybe aren't connected all the time or have connections that aren't perfectly stable. And actually, if you remember when I showed you what the teachers can do with the 3 dots, that's an option as well, because we understand if a student has trouble with connectivity, that doesn't mean that they have a printer at home to support them either, but this is a workaround that is available. So you can print your activities for your students, and then they can actually respond to the activity and upload it back into Seesaw.
Yep, and I wanted to mention really quickly with the printing, I have a student who's visually impaired not completely blind, but he is visually impaired. And if he prints it, he can actually print it inverse, so he can actually see the text, which helps him actually do it. He has a hard time on a screen. So something to think about, a little UDL there.
I love it. I didn't know that they could print it inverse, and that's awesome.
I learned that from my visual tech person from the county, who actually is really nice.
Yeah, our visual tech person is wonderful. I've tracked him down for questions. He's great. So feature number 2, update number 2, in the student view, again, it shows student right here. When the student goes to activities before August 14th, what they saw was only the activities that were not submitted to the teacher. So activities that were left for that student to respond to. Now, however, students can click on the right-hand side. They can look at the activities that are to do, activities that they started but didn't finish, and activities that have been submitted. So that is a really neat update to really help students kind of keep track of their work. And I want you to notice here too that the student has an inbox. So anytime that you respond to a student activity, and we'll take a minute to show that, because I think that it would be sad if you didn't see that. Anytime a teacher responds to a student, they're going to get a message in their inbox. A new feature, and I believe this is for everyone, paid or free, is students can respond again. Who doesn't want to iterate on their work? I mean, I thrive on being able to look at something that I wasn't completely satisfied with and do it again. I think that all of us as educators do, and some of our students do too. So they want that opportunity to respond again, and now Seesaw has made that a possibility. And then finally, the sun rises, teachers can get a student activity link. And this is the thing, I want to take like 3 minutes to show you this. If you are using Google Classroom or some other district mandated learning management system, we just transitioned to Schoology. This is the thing. This is the thing that can help you. So, whoops, really quickly, in our Seesaw class, if I go back to my class, on the activity, any one of these activities that I have submitted or put out there for my students to do, posted for my students, I can, as the teacher, get a student link. And if I was still in my activity library, the link that I produced would be a teacher link that I could share with another educator. However, if you want to get your students directly to your Seesaw activity, you can click on the 3 dots and you can get a student link. And then once you're here, there's only one option. We're going to copy that. And if I wanted to put this in my Google Classroom, there are a couple of ways that you can do this. I'm going to snag, I think I have a PSEA sample class that I had going, and I would go to my classwork page. I could click create, and you could do it. I would recommend an assignment or material. If you have it as an assignment, your students will see that submit response button, which could be a little confusing in Google Classroom. So another way would be to post it as a material, and we could just call it Seesaw activity and then add it. I'm clicking the wrong thing. Link. Sorry about that. Link. Paste my link. Click add. Wait for it to process, and then I can post this for my students, and they're going to see it here. Kelly and I did this the other day too. When they see this, which you would thoughtfully put into your class where it makes sense, probably not just at the top in a mess like I did, when they click on it, they see this link. There's a little picture that shows them that they're going to go to Seesaw, and then they would click on the Seesaw link, and I am signed in as a teacher, not as a student. So I'll still be able to see it, but this is what students would see. It will take them directly to the activity, and it will take them directly to the place where they can add a response. So this is the spot right here. If they click add response, they can still look at the instructions and everything. And that is how our answer of how do you integrate Seesaw and Google Classroom really well went from to here's how you do it because Seesaw created this update for us over the summer, and we are so grateful to them for that because it's really helped us as we have rolled out Schoology. I am seeing it's 7:59, and although there is one more thing I would love to show you, I think we're going to stop and let Ann talk. We could go all night, Ann.
I know, I'm sure that you could. I want to thank everyone for joining us, and I know my brain is really full right now. It's just full. I didn't know anything about Seesaw. I have a 7-year-old at home, and our school is not using Seesaw, but after hearing some of these, I kind of wish they were. So instead, we have the lovely Canvas to work with. But we really appreciate you ladies sharing your knowledge with us tonight. A couple of things, just business things. One, if you are interested in receiving continuing professional development credits, the NEA can provide you a certificate. You just need to go to www.nea.org/webinars. Give us a day or two to get it up, and then it will give you instructions of how to access all of that. That will also give you the ability to see the webinar again, so that if you're like me and you'd want to go back and try some of those things again, that you'll be able to do that. And we will also, they foreshadowed, but we will next week be focusing on Google Classroom for the webinar on Friday. So if you're available, we'd love to see you at that one, and would also ask, please, 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 if you could fill out the exit ticket that my friend Leslie just put in the chat. We'd super appreciate it. That really provides us some feedback on changes that we may need to make, and also to additional PD opportunities that you may be interested in. So we really appreciate you joining us. We will stay on for a few minutes for, of course, the dogs. For those of you who have some questions that you wanted to ask, and for the rest of you, have a great evening, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much.
That sounds like our house. Hey,
Yeah,
Kelly,
mine too.
one thing I realized, we didn't get a chance to show how to actually respond to a student. If people don't have a specific question right away, should I demonstrate that really quickly? There is not a way to get them back, but I can show you a workaround because we have done this, and this is where folders come in handy. So really quickly, if I go to the journal, one thing I want to point out really quickly, as I'm reviewing, I didn't show this earlier. At the bottom of each post, there's a spot to like and comment, and you can comment and type a comment. Or again, Seesaw has made it so easy to communicate with your youngest students. If I click on the comment and I don't start typing, there's a microphone here. They've got them all over the place. There are microphones all over Seesaw. So I could leave a voice comment for Kelly, and then she actually could leave a voice comment back for me. And I have had students do that. I had students that were leaving me voice comments on their Seesaw posts in the spring because they were so lonesome for school. And
Sarah,
I didn't share my screen. Oh my goodness. You would think
Thank you, Billy.
You'd think I'd never done this before. Oh my goodness. So sorry. Okay. So I'm on Kelly's activity post here, or is this the activity post? This is her journal
post. Yeah.
This is her journal post, but I can type a comment, hello to you too, or whatever, and I can click post, or if I click comment, I can click on the microphone and I could leave her a voice comment. If you accidentally approved all, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to approve all. And by the way, I never do this if there's a recording because you never know what they're going to say.
Yep.
But if I approved all, and this has happened, our friend accidentally approved everything for the classroom teacher who wasn't super excited about that, but it was an accident.
Yeah.
If you go to unapproved items, now we see that there's nothing left because they've all been approved. However, if I click on the journal, you're going to notice that there are 20 items in our class journal. If I want to go back and find items that I just approved, you can click on this folder and actually you can sort by subject area. So if or filter, I should say, by subject area. So if I chose Reader's Workshop, then I could go in and look at all the things that were from Reader's Workshop. Or if I knew that I was working on the PLTW posts, I could go in there and look at I really went to town in the spring creating strange things. So you could go in and draw out the ones that you had just approved. Another way to do it is, this shows you that we're in the stream view. If I clicked on the calendar and I thought, oh, I accidentally did this, but I'm looking for the 3 things that were posted today, then you can click on the calendar and filter it by the items that were posted today. So maybe you accidentally approved everything and you just want to see the ones that were submitted yesterday and today, and that's how you can do that. So I hope that that's helpful. That I recommend, as far as workflow in Seesaw, look at an item, respond to it, approve it. Look at an item, respond to it, approve it. It's easier than approving everything and trying to go back and comment, and just taking items in one at a time.
Mm-hmm. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to make sure I dropped in a link to free Seesaw Plus for a month into the chat. So if you guys click on that link that says link to free Seesaw Plus, you can actually get free Seesaw Plus on me for a little while, so you can try it out if you haven't already done that. And then Kimmy just dropped the exit ticket into the chat as well. So if you haven't done that, would you please? Other questions?
Oh, the NEA website, I can put that up. We have a few slides that we kind of didn't get to. Resources for educators at the back of the presentation. And also, so check out all these things. There's the exit ticket. And the NEA Ed communities, if you are on I think it's one of the very first slides, there's a link to the NEA Ed communities. And the way my brain works is, I thought I wanted to try it out. So I did, and I joined a couple, and it's really cool. It's a great way to expand your professional learning network with other educators who are doing the same thing. And this is really handy. I don't know who made this, but this is, I don't know what slide this is. It's toward the end. These visual directions
76.
They're perfect. I filed these, no trouble at all. So whoever made these, well done. I'm all for making really handy visual directions, and it's all right here, how to get the certificate and the whole thing. So just follow these steps and they'll get you right there. So thank you, NEA.
Yeah. I see a question from Leslie in the chat. Could we speak to how a librarian might utilize this platform? So I can speak to that, because my friend Shakira is our media specialist in my building, and she uses Seesaw absolutely brilliantly. And honestly, if you wanted to contact her, she would probably be okay with that if you wanted to talk to a teacher who actually uses it. But what she does is she has a separate Seesaw class for each section that she sees, and then she uses Seesaw for a variety of things. She posts read-alouds, either screencasts of herself reading a story and then has the kids respond to it. She does video links to Common Sense Media for digital citizenship. She starts the year with that this year particularly because, of course, we're online. She uses typing website links in Seesaw. She has all kinds of brilliant ideas, and she uses it like every day with every class, and I think she's absolutely stellar. If you have any additional questions or you want to email me or ask me, I can get you connected with her because I think she's rather brilliant.
And there are a lot of activities that are already made in Seesaw that are like book response kind of activities. So if you did a reading with your students and asked them to respond to it, or asked them to find a book and do a book talk about it or something. Seesaw has a lot of activities in the community library, and we didn't get into this today in the interest of time, but you can find and remix your Seesaw activities. It's really easy to do. You just click copy and edit, and you can change anything out that you want to. So everything is right there. And one other thing we didn't talk about, if you need more than you got here, we recommend this website. It's their training website. It takes you right down a path of using Seesaw in whatever setting you're in. And then if you want to dig deeper, you can join the Pioneer program. That is now the first step toward becoming an ambassador if you want to, but you can also be a pioneer and never be an ambassador. That's totally okay too. This is just you're ready, you've been using it, and you really want to dig in deeper. Help.seesaw.me is great. And I highly recommend this right here.
Facebook
Seesaw
group.
Teachers on Facebook. This is a link. If you have a question and you post it on Facebook, you're sure to get probably 4 different possible answers, like ideas in very short order. And there are a lot of teachers on there who know Seesaw really well and can answer how-to questions pretty quickly.
The media specialist I just mentioned is very active on that group, just so you know. They also have fabulous content-specific resources. So if you're a music teacher, an art teacher, etc., all of that is linked in that PD in the last slide.
All right, so it looks like we're running out of questions. And on that note,
I'm sure everyone's tired.
yeah, I know how hard it is to be teaching all day and then to get on another Zoom at the end of the day. So really appreciate your time and attention, and we will see everyone next time.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thanks for joining us.